Hello, how are you today? And welcome to our class today and our class on health and safety. I remember we started introductory part of health and safety. We discussed various ways in which we can make our places of work or wherever we are. We wanted to have that place being safe so that it can be able to ensure or sustain. I want us to proceed with the topic of health and safety. That is from where we stopped. So, if you can be able to remember, we had started discussing about how you make your environment safe, and we looked at a number of ways of making our workplace safe. Then we went ahead and looked at various protective equipment that you use so that you can be able to protect yourself. That is personal protection, as we say, personal safety, and the also that is you can also protect the other person. That is protection for the other person. Then we went ahead and looked at the reason as to why you can use shoes or any covering that protects your foot from either pricking or foreign objects, whatever. Yeah. So you see, there is another equipment or protective gears that we use, and then we went ahead and talked about the goggles, where we talked about the goggles being a protective equipment, especially to protect the eyes. Yeah, primarily protectors intended to shield your eyes against any liquid that is not intended. For example, if you are dealing with a chemical, maybe let's assume you are in a salon and you are dealing with some chemicals which are likely to have those fumes or they're likely to have the sprays. So these goggles can help you in terms of protecting the chemicals from reaching your eyes. So anything to do with the chemicals and liquids, flying objects during grinding, yeah, all those can be prevented by these goggles from reaching your eyes. Also, we have what we call irritating mists. Usually comes from chemicals, vapors, and the fumes. Yeah, these are actually very irritating when they reach the eye or when they are able to come into contact with the eyes. So goggles from a protective seal around the eye, they form a protective seal around the eye and prevent the objects or fluids from reaching the eyes. In other words, what we mean here is that barrier, yeah, but you can be able to see through, though the fumes or the solid or the liquid substances which are not intended to reach the eye do not get an opportunity to do so. So this is especially important when working around liquids that may splash or spray. So that is the role of the goggles in protecting your eyes against various uh, contacts such as fluids. We've talked about um, irritating mists, vapor, and fumes. All those can easily be prevented by the use of the goggles. Next is the head. As we have already said, is that always keep your head safe while working, wherever you are working. That means whether it is in the workplace, in your salon, or in your nail spa, or any place. Yeah, always ensure that you protect your head against any injury, and therefore that's why while you are in your workplace, ensure that you protect your head against falling objects by using a helmet. So if you are working somewhere whereby you suspect that something can be falling So you can use a helmet. It can help in terms of preventing any damage to your head or any injury. Two, it also helps to prevent potential falling objects or debris. So if you are somewhere where you are suspecting that there could be some falling objects or debris, so you can use this so that you can be able to protect your head against. Next is low hanging objects or protruding objects. So if there's any low lying objects or protruding objects, assuming maybe you're walking in a place where they are protruding maybe timber or protruding objects like stones or something, it is important that you ensure that you mind your head. So that's why it is always important that you cover your head. Number four is about electrical hazards. So it also helps in protecting your head against electrical hazards. Potential accidents and their causes. This is something very important that you need to understand, because in every organization or in every place, there are those ones that we call the potential accidents and what we also refer to as the most likely type of accidents that are likely to occur in your place. So whenever you are in any profession, whether you are whether you are a carpenter or a hairdresser or a beautician, so you must be able to suspect the most potential accidents that are likely to occur. So in this lesson, I will tend to focus more on the potential accidents that are likely to occur in either a salon, a nail spa, or any workplace that is related to things to do with hairdressing and beauty therapy. So the first one is electric shock. As you know all, is that every time you are likely to encounter or you are likely to deal with electrical gadgets, meaning that you cannot actually operate in a salon or in any beauty industry without dealing with the electric equipment. And that is why electric shock is one of the likely potential accidents you are likely to occur, that is likely to occur. And in this one, always ensure that you avoid exposed electrical conductors, because one of the main causes of electric shocks is exposed electrical conductors. So for you to minimize this, you must ensure that all electric conductors are covered, meaning that you don't allow, for example, maybe you have an equipment na umeona imetokana and you just leave it there. So always ensure that that electrical appliance must be well insulated so that to avoid potential accidents. The second one are burns. As you all know, when you're working in a salon or when you're working in a beauty in a beauty industry, this is where you are dealing with various chemicals, you are dealing with various electrical appliances, and burns are likely to occur. That's why if you look at most of your chemicals that you use, most of them are written highly flammable, meaning that, but if, for instance, there is fire in the salon, it is likely actually to affect you because most of the chemicals are highly flammable. And therefore, in this case here, it's always important to identify that burns can be a potential accident in that particular workplace. And once you identify that, it is important to know that what causes this is the heat maybe produced by electrical appliances or when they are left unattended. Therefore, ensure that there no appliance is left to run without cause any burns. Number three are falls. Falls, yani kuanguka. So mostly you find that because of the likelihood that there will be spillage of water, spillage of chemicals, spillage of oils which are used in maybe in the beauty or hairdressing industry. There is likely to be a slippery floor. So slippery floors can cause falls, and there can also be loose cables obstruction, and it may lead to falls. And therefore, these are the things that you need to ensure that you check so that you make your floor safe. Next is on the sharp objects. The sharp objects. Just a minute. The cuts where you can actually be cut due to sharp objects, because in most cases you find that our workplaces, especially in the salons or the nail spa or beauty parlors, you will have sharp objects. And so if it is not, it can actually fall, yeah? And if it falls, there are likelihood that it can cause injuries. So those are some of the potential accidents you expect in your place of work. The slippery floor, sharp objects, we have naked or exposed conductors, obstructions, and this is what I always say. Always ensure that your place does not have any obstruction. Then there's also what we call poor visibility, meaning that if you are not able to see clearly, yeah, you are likely to cause an accident. And that is why if you look at some of you ladies especially, you may find that somebody ametengeneza a hairstyle which actually closes your eyes, and you're working in a salon. So you realize that if you have that poor visibility, there is a likelihood that you will actually fall down and be injured. And therefore, it's always important to ensure that such causes of accidents are known and you can be able to prevent them from happening. The next topic I want us to handle is on fires. And it's always important to understand that one of the accidents that are likely to occur in the workplace is fire. Actually, most of the workplaces, whether it is an office, whether it's a workshop, or a salon like yours, in this case, is likely or is most likely to have fire. And for fire to occur, there are three things that must be present for fire to occur. One, there must be oxygen. Number two, there must be heat. And number three, there must be fuel. So meaning that for fire to occur, there must be a source of heat, then there must be oxygen to support the fire, then there must be fuel so that it can be able to propagate or to ensure that that fire continues to burn. Now, there are four classes of fire which may occur in a given place. So the four classes of fire are classified as class A, class B, class C, class D types of fires. So the first type there is type A, and type A, the class A type of fire involves solid materials such as wood, textile, or any solid material. So if you have the fire involving solid materials, for instance, wooden parts of your salon or wooden parts of your place of work, then the textile, meaning that the clothing and everything that's around, and another solid material, then that particular fire is classified as class A. Then we also have class B fire, which involves flammable liquids such as petrol, diesel, and others. For instance, if you look at most of your chemicals, you will see them written highly flammable, meaning that anything that is flammable is a substance that can easily catch fire. And therefore, class B type of fire requires that all flammable materials are kept in places where they cannot easily catch fire. So that you don't have a situation, for instance, you open acetone and then you are using a matchbox around. So there are high chances that the flammability of that particular substance can actually cause fire. And therefore, at that kind of fire, it causes is what we call a class B type of fire that we refer to as class B, which affects the flammable liquids. Then we also have what we call class C. Class C type of fire involves gases, meaning that any fire that occurs in the workplace as a result of gas is what we refer to as class C. Then lastly, we have class D, which involve the live electric apparatus or maybe electric fires. So electric fires is what we refer to as class D fires. Now, once fire has occurred, as you all know, the best thing to do is to ensure that you are secure. Yeah. But apart from ensuring that you are secure, it's always important to look for a way that you can extinguish the fire. Because when fire starts, it starts small. So if you are in a position that you can be able to stop the fire from proceeding, you can do so. How can you do that? There are various ways in which you can use to put out fire once it starts in your workplace. And that is why if you, for example, start up your business today, and one of the main requirements that you have to put in place during your registration of business is ensuring that your business has what we call fire safety measures. And fire safety measures are measures that are put in place to ensure that your premise does not burn down, even in case there is a fire accident. So that is why it's always important that you must install a fire extinguisher in your place of work so that it can be able to save the day if in case fire occurs in your place. Now, there are different types of extinguishers or fire extinguishers that you can use so that it can be able to put off the fire in case it appears. So substances used to put off fire in case of fire emergency include, number one, you have what we call dry powder. Dry powder, there are some fire extinguishers which have dry powder, which when used can actually generate carbon dioxide, which is used in putting off the fire. Then we also have what we call sand for general fires. If it's a general fire, you can use even sand, because once you cover it with sand, somehow that particular fire goes off. Then we have carbon dioxide gas, where you find that it's fitted in a cylinder, and then you. Next is what we refer to as the foam, that is FOAM, for oil fires. So in case the source of the oil, the cause of the fire is as a result of oil, yeah, then you need to use foam as a way of putting off that fire. Then we also have one natural one. I think this one you know it, what we call a blanket. So blankets usually are very important because it can be able to assist in case fire catches. You can be able to use a blanket so that you can be able to put off the fire. Then lastly, this is what many people know, what we refer to as water. So more than 60% of the fires can be put off by water. However, this type of fire cannot be put off if in case the source is electric shock, is caused by electric malfunction. So which means whenever there is a malfunction in terms of your electric wires, it can lead to fire. But that type of fire is not, you cannot actually put it off using water. That's why I've written that it is not recommended for electrical based fires. So which means you must be able to understand the source or the cause of fire before you decide the course of action. Now, what are some personal measures or precautions that you need to take to ensure that you remain safe in your workplace? Number one, which is very important, using appropriate preventive clothing or equipment. So each and every time, don't remember, because when you are in school, sometimes your teachers or your lecturers keep reminding you to put on your headgear, or you put on covered shoes or such. However, when you are out there, especially when you have your own salon, for example, nobody's going to follow you to tell you that you need to be safe. And therefore, at that particular point, always remember to use appropriate clothing and preventive equipment such as goggles, helmets, gloves, covered shoes, among others, to ensure safety in your place. Number two, for you to have personal safety, you need to observe the rules and the regulations in the place of work to the letter. That is why each and every place of work needs to have a set of rules that you need to follow to the letter. So that if you say, for instance, no high-heeled shoes in a salon, because you are likely to fall. Yeah. So always remember to ensure that you follow those rules to the letter. Number three is using the correct tools for the correct task. This is where you find some people having a challenge where you don't use the correct tools for a specific work. For instance, you are doing something which requires you to use, let's say, a comb. But now you are using the comb for another reason. Yeah. So that means it's likely to cause damage, or it's likely to cause um, an accident. Lastly, knowing where emergency buttons are located in the workplace, e.g., the fire alarm and other things. So always remember to check around to know where emergency buttons are located, emergency exits. Always know where you can exit in case of fire or in case of any accident. So those are some of the ways in which you can ensure personal safety in the place of work. Now, we have safe workplaces so that we can be able to continue working in safe places. So thank you so much, and continue looking at that. Write short notes on the same so that you can be able to proceed that way. So up to there, that is our end of lesson 2. In our next class, we will start discussing about first aid. Thank you and have a good evening.